All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to week 2, Prehistoric Art. Hope you all had a good weekend. Okay, let's get right into it. Okay, all right, so in a nutshell, prehistoric art is any art made during prehistoric times. So what does the word prehistoric mean? Prehistoric. If you look at the word, you have pre, and then you have historic, right? So prehistoric, before history. History meaning recorded history. So any time when it was recorded by writing, that's part of history. Okay, so prehistory means before writing. Okay, so it's any time before writing was used, technically. Okay, so this is the time before any written record of humanity was existent. Okay, so this is this term, this definition, is an easy way to think of this. Any time before written history, okay? And engraved characters date as far back as 500,000 years ago. That's a long time ago. That's 500,000 years ago. Humanity's ancestors existed 500,000 years ago, and that's when people made engraved characters. What does the word engrave mean? So engrave means to basically carve onto a flat, solid surface, such as rocks, stones, the walls of caves. We're actually going to look at an image of a cave painting and a sculpture, a small sculpture that was carved. Okay, but anyway, they had the tools to draw. They had the tools to carve things. Basically, they would bang hard, solid pieces of rocks against a softer rock to break the softer rock and then form shapes. Okay, and the oldest drawings are found in caves. Art served survivalist purposes and not for aesthetic purposes. So, what is a survivalist purpose? Survivalist purpose, in this case, would be to communicate. Okay, so by communication, people back then would tell each other things that they otherwise couldn't explain through words because they just didn't have spoken or written language. Spoken language came before written language, but maybe way back then, they didn't have a set language. Maybe they just kind of grunted at each other. Use your imagination. That's something that you can learn in anthropology class. Okay, so yeah, the term prehistoric can be applied to anything from before the first civilization up to the end of the Iron Age, which is 1st century BCE. So in this class, we're not going to use BC and AD, okay? BC standing for before Christ. AD stands for, it doesn't stand for after death, it stands for Anno Domini. We're not going to use those. We're only going to use BCE and CE. BCE meaning before Common Era, and CE meaning Common Era, because this is not a religious lecture. Let's try to keep it secular, so we use BCE and CE. All right, so in this class, we do a lot of memorizing and studying images. Okay, so any important works that we see in lectures, in the slides, these pieces should be instantly recognized. So any unimportant pieces of work you're not going to see in the lectures, you're not going to see in the presentation. I'm only going to include important things that you have to remember, because I mean, who wants to waste their time, right? I want you folks to study only the things that you need to know in Art 101. So, what are these things that should be memorized? Title, okay, obviously. And then date, as in, you don't need to know the specific date and time. You just need to know what era or movement they're from. Movement meaning style of art from that particular time period. Okay, we're gonna get into that much later. As we enter modernism and postmodernism, we use the term movement to indicate different styles of art. Okay. Third thing you have to know is medium. And this isn't as important, but sometimes you can't tell whether a piece is oil paint or acrylic or maybe watercolor. And you may have to know, in this class, you won't be tested on medium. So medium being tested on the medium or the materials used in the painting is something that'll come up if you end up majoring in art. Okay, so in this class, we're gonna keep medium to a minimum. And then location, you need to know where a specific painting or sculpture or any piece of art is from, okay? Not where it's located in the present day, but where it's made in. And then lastly, historical significance. Historical significance is the most important because you have to know why we're studying a certain piece of artwork. If they're not important, what's even the point of studying them, right? Some pieces of artwork have a lot more historical significance than others, and you're going to have to know exactly why it's talked about in history. Okay, and when it comes to historical significance, you're talking about it in an artistic context or an anthropological context. Anthropological meaning pertaining to human civilization and development. All right, so this is the first piece we'll be looking at. This is only a small, tiny portion of the Lascaux cave drawings or paintings, depending on how you see it. I think they're drawings, but some people like to call them paintings. I call them drawings because mostly it's just contour lines. They're not usually, well, this is colored, but they're not like intentionally colored in. You can call this a drawing or a painting. Doesn't matter to me. You will get tested on this piece in the final exam, and you can write either drawing or painting, doesn't matter. But the important part is it's from Lascaux cave. Okay, so in the final exam, this is what you have to write: Lascaux cave drawing or Lascaux cave painting. Okay, so what do you see in this drawing? Like, these are obviously animals, right? So maybe this is a cow, some kind of cattle, right? A bovine animal, and I think this is a horse. So we have an equine animal. We have, I think these are deer. I don't know what this thing is. Yeah, so you have deer, cattle, and a horse. Okay, so my question to you is, why did they draw these? Like, why? Was it for fun? Or like, is it even real life? Did they see it in a dream? Well, how are they going to see it in a dream if they don't see it in real life, right? So obviously they exist in real life. They've seen it in person. That's how they know this is how they look like, right? Researchers or historians believe that these animals were drawn because they wanted, the people in the caves wanted to tell each other what to hunt, because they didn't have spoken or written languages back then. This is the only way they could tell each other what to hunt, because they don't want to starve, right? They want to tell each other what to hunt, which animals to go for. Okay, so that's one of the theories. The other theory is they just drew for fun. They had to, kill time, because back then they didn't have smartphones, they didn't have internet, they didn't have TV. What were they supposed to do? So they drew. Okay, so there's some theories. Okay, here's another view of it. So these cave paintings, it's actually really big. It's all over the caves, on the ceiling, on the walls, on the floor. You're just seeing like tiny segments of these paintings. Okay, and this cave is an entire system. It's not just one room. There's multiple rooms. So what you see here is a tiny portion. Okay, so in the final exam, you're not going to see this exact photo. I'm not going to give you these two slides that you just saw. I'll be showing a different segment, but you need to be able to recognize exactly what it is. Lascaux Cave drawings. And as soon as you see it, that's what you're going to think about. So you simply write Lascaux Cave drawing. Okay. All right, so these are 17,000 years old. They're pretty old, right? Drawn on cave walls, obviously. And they're located in Lascaux Cave, Montignac, France. So you have to know where specifically it's from, right? In this case, it's from France. I'll take France. You don't need to write the city. You just need to know that it's France. And the specific name of the cave is Lascaux Cave in Lascaux. I think this is the name of the district or something. And it covers many cave walls and possibly a historical record, or to communicate about the animals outside the caves before writing was invented. Okay, so that's Lascaux Cave drawings. All right, this is Venus of Willendorf. This is obviously a figure of a woman. Here are the four angles, okay, so from the front, from the back, right, left, okay. There's only one made, but you're gonna see a lot of variations of these if you go to museums. So these kinds of sculptures, or people like to think they're charms as well, they were pretty common. Humanity used to carve people way back then as well. It's not a recent thing. Well, what else would they carve? They would carve rocks in their own image. That's the easiest thing that people can carve. People will carve other people on rocks because they're visually familiar with the human form. So that's what they've been doing. So researchers believe that this is a carved figure of maybe a pregnant woman. Not quite sure. We can only hypothesize, right? What did they intend? But this piece is from 300,000 to 250,000 years ago, from the Upper Paleolithic era. This is an estimate. estimate based on carbon dating technique. And this is carved from limestone. Okay, so limestone is good to carve with. You're going to see a lot of limestone throughout history. I think the Egyptian pyramids are built with limestone. I may be wrong. The very, very huge temples on the side of cliffs in the Middle East are also limestone, I believe. So this is a very common material to carve with. And this is discovered in Willendorf, Austria. Okay, so it's called the Venus of Willendorf because it's discovered in Willendorf, Austria. And this is about 4.5 inches tall. It kind of looks big, but it's really not. They're actually really tiny, and that's why people think it's a charm. But most likely, a lot of researchers are thinking that it's a fertility statue. A fertility statue is, they're small statues, or I mean, they can be large as well, but, you know, people are superstitious and they believe these statues or charms will bring them luck when it comes to making babies, which, if they make babies, it increases the number of people in their tribe. And with a bigger tribe means more power. Okay, so these first fertility statues were very common, and they exist in a good majority, if not every civilization. These kind of good luck charms, they're in every corner of the world. Okay, so this is nothing, it's nothing novel. It's a very common thing. And so it's just like, you know, people having charms for good luck, people having charms, or even like doing performances, dances for the sky to give rain. Same concept. In this case, it's for increasing population. Okay, so these are the two pieces that we're gonna look in the prehistoric period for week 2. It's very short. These are the only two pieces that you have to know, in my opinion. The two most recognizable prehistoric pieces, prehistoric so-called artwork or craft, if you want to call it that. So these are the only two we're going to look at. Okay, so study these two and know their names, know when it's from, know the location, and any other details like what it's made out of and like any historical significance. Okay, so that's it for week 2. So this is the shortest lecture that we have. Okay, the other lectures will last anywhere from 30 minutes to 1 hour. But I'll try to keep it short because short lectures that are to the point, easier to memorize, and you know, you don't want to watch a long lecture all over again every time you want to study, right? So this presentation is available on Laulima, and you can download it. So download it onto your computer, onto your tablet or phone or whatever, and study off of that. Okay. All right. I'll see you next week.